Lieutenant James Carter was assigned as human military liaison to the Verath Imperial Court, one of those diplomatic postings where his role was primarily ceremonial. He coordinated security protocols between human and Verath forces, attended formal functions, and ensured humanity's presence didn't create diplomatic incidents. The Verath were ancient and formidable, distinctive pointed ears detecting threats through sound, skin shifting through metallic colors reflecting combat states, rigid hierarchical culture where the royal family commanded absolute loyalty. Empress Calith ruled with strategic brilliance and personal authority from centuries of unquestioned power. James had been at the court for 6 months, mostly observing Verath military culture with minimal direct interaction with the Empress. His security role was largely advisory. The Verath had their own elite guards, their own protocols. Today, the Empress was conducting formal inspection of military installations on palace grounds, routine quarterly inspection surrounded by her elite Imperial Guard. James was there as human representative, walking at the periphery, essentially decorative. Then everything went catastrophically wrong. An explosion tore through the eastern wall, not where the inspection was happening, but close enough that debris and shockwave reached the procession. Multiple secondary explosions followed. Armed insurgents breached through damaged wall, moving with tactical precision, suggesting planned assault. The Imperial Guard's response should have been immediate protection of the Empress. Instead, James watched in horror as coordinated betrayal unfolded. The Guard commander signaled retreat, and elite guards, warriors sworn to protect the Empress with their lives, abandoned their posts and fled, leaving Kale exposed. Treason on a scale James could barely process. James didn't think, didn't calculate political implications. He just saw the Empress standing exposed, saw insurgents advancing, and moved. He positioned himself between Kale and the approaching threat, weapon drawn, his stance making clear he wasn't leaving. The insurgents hesitated when they saw a human officer had remained when Verath guards fled. Unexpected enough to create pause, they'd planned for Verath military response, not for human liaison to be the only thing between them and their target. Kale's skin flashed through colors indicating profound shock. Her ears positioned in ways suggesting she was processing something that didn't fit her understanding. "Lieutenant Carter," she said, voice carrying royal authority even in crisis, "you are not sworn to protect me." "My guards," she stopped, because the reality was obvious. Her guards had abandoned her. James kept his weapon trained on insurgents, positioned firmly between them and Kale. "With respect, Your Majesty, I'm not leaving. You can order me to stand down, but unless you do, I'm staying between you and them." The insurgents advanced. What followed was brief, intense combat James absolutely wasn't trained for. He was liaison officer, not elite infantry. But he had defensive positioning, surprise, and desperate determination, knowing that if he failed, the person behind him died. He held position for 90 seconds, which felt like hours, before Verath loyalist forces arrived. Actual combat troops responding to explosions, not the betraying Imperial Guard, securing the area and neutralizing the threat. James sustained injuries, nothing immediately life-threatening, but enough that he was barely standing when loyalist forces took over. Kale, physically unharmed because James's body was between her and incoming fire, had skin showing colors James had never seen. Something beyond shock, approaching awe or confusion. "You stayed," she said, as if processing a difficult concept. "When my sworn guards fled, you who have no oath to me, no cultural obligation, no binding duty, you remained and put yourself between me and death." The aftermath was politically explosive. The Imperial Guard's betrayal was part of larger coup attempt by hardline military factions opposed to Kale's integration policies. The Guard commander and several elite guards were conspirators. Others fled not from cowardice, but from being compromised and uncertain who to trust. But the visible result, the Empress's own guards fled while a human liaison stayed. Over following days, Kale repeatedly sought out James, not for official debriefings, but for personal conversations that confused James because Verath royalty doesn't typically have personal conversations. "I need to understand," Kale said, skin showing genuine perplexity, "why you stayed. You had every reason to flee. You're not trained for frontline combat. You have no sworn duty. Staying was irrational from any tactical perspective. Why? James, still recovering, said honestly. Because you were in danger and I was in position to help. It wasn't about tactics or sworn duty. It was about seeing someone in danger and choosing to act. But you could have died, Cale pointed out. Probably should have died. The odds of holding that position were minimal. Probably, James agreed. But running meant you definitely would have died. Staying meant maybe neither of us did. Those odds seemed worth taking. Cale's skin showed respect or confusion. Your people have strange relationship with self-preservation. Verath culture values sworn duty. My guards were bound by oaths, which makes their betrayal particularly profound. But you had no oath, no cultural binding, no political obligation. Yet you stayed when they fled. She paused, ears positioning in deep thought. I have spent centuries surrounded by warriors bound to protect me through sworn oaths. And when crisis came, those oaths failed. But you, with no oath at all, stayed. What does that reveal about the nature of loyalty? The coup attempt was dismantled. The Imperial Guard restructured with new leadership and enhanced loyalty screening. But the incident fundamentally changed Cale's understanding of loyalty. She created a new position, Royal Shield, a personal guard serving not through Verath cultural binding or sworn oaths, but through individual choice and demonstrated loyalty. She offered it to James. I am not asking you to swear Verath oaths or bind yourself to cultural duties your people don't share, Cale explained. I am asking if you would continue to choose what you chose in that moment, to stand between me and danger when it would be easier to flee. Not because duty demands it, but because you believe it's worth doing. James considered carefully. The position would end his liaison assignment and commit him to a role he never trained for. But it would also give him genuine influence in protecting someone who matters. I'll accept on one condition, James said, that you actually listen when I say something is a security risk. Your Verath guards followed protocols perfectly while planning your assassination. I don't know Verath protocols, but I notice things that don't fit patterns. If I'm going to protect you, you have to trust that outsider perspective. Agreed, Cale said without hesitation. 3 years later, James served as Royal Shield, a position both ceremonial and genuinely functional. He'd prevented 2 additional assassination attempts, not through superior combat skills, but through noticing patterns that didn't fit and raising concerns Cale, having learned to trust his judgment, took seriously. When reporters asked about the human who remained when Verath guards fled, James gave his honest answer. During a coup attempt, the Empress's elite guards fled. Some were conspirators, others were compromised. I stayed not because I had obligation or training, but because she was in danger and I was in position to help. That choice wasn't about tactics or sworn duty. It was about seeing someone who needed protection and choosing to provide it. Loyalty isn't about oaths. It's about choosing to act when action matters. Cale said, my sworn guards, bound by centuries of cultural duty and formal oaths, fled when crisis came. Lieutenant Carter, with no oath to me, stayed. That moment taught me that loyalty based on individual choice can be more reliable than loyalty compelled by duty. James continues to serve as Royal Shield not because Verath tradition binds him, but because he chooses to, and that choice, renewed daily, creates trust that survived what sworn oaths could not. Because they'd learned that loyalty compelled by oaths can fail when tested, while loyalty chosen freely can endure because it's continually renewed through action rather than assumed permanent through words spoken once. That sometimes